How can we supercharge the electric vehicle rollout? Tony Lynch is managing director and senior leader of the North American Automotive Industrials Group of Alvarez and Marsal. Hi, Tony.
Hello there. How are you, Robert?
I'm good. Thank you very much for joining me today. This is a big issue, and the EVs are definitely an up and coming thing. But the question is, how much up and coming? Is the EV market heating up right now?
It certainly is. Latest forecasts have just come out, and they have accelerated the penetration of EVs in 2030 by about 15 percentage points. So each successive forecast that comes out is more aggressive in terms of the timeline for EV penetration.
Okay, so there's a lot of development, a lot of optimism about it, but there are, of course, some, I don't know if you want to call them obstacles, but definitely issues to be considered. First and foremost, batteries. What's going on with batteries? Are they stepping up to the plate technologically and in terms of availability and production?
Yes and no. I think you see a lot of activity by the OEMs in creating partnerships and building battery plants. You know, General Motors is building one down in Lordstown, Ohio, one of them in Spring Hill, Tennessee, each at about $2.5 billion. Mm-hmm. I think the challenge is that the format that they're currently all using, which is called pouch, may not be the end format that gets used. Elon Musk said the pouch format was susceptible to fires and overcharging, and that's in fact what we're seeing. So I think that shortly we're going to see advances in solid state battery production, which are lighter and have longer range. And I hate to say that all that investment's being wasted, but we might be investing in the wrong technology too soon.
When you refer to pouch, do you mean lithium batteries?
Yes, lithium-ion batteries come in three configurations: pouch, prismatic, and cylindrical. Cylindrical, like the batteries you buy in the store. In fact, the Tesla has about 3,000 of those little batteries in its battery pack. Mm-hmm. It makes its batteries. So yes, I'm referring to the physical format of the layout of the lithium ion and the cathode and the anode.
But you're saying there are actually three forms of lithium ion battery technology.
Correct. That's right. There are.
And you're saying that all three of them may not be a good idea for the long run.
No, I'm saying the pouch configuration, which is the most prevalent one.
I see.
I mean, GMs are called every single bolt they made, right? Mm-hmm. And there's fires and things like that. So the cylindrical one appears to be stable, the one kind of Tesla uses, and the prismatic one, not many people are using that right now.
Mm-hmm. So what else are manufacturers doing in terms of reorienting their area of focus, divesting themselves of particular units, buying units, outsourcing, not outsourcing? What are the major strategies there that companies are engaging in order to go ahead with manufacturing of EVs?
Yeah, you know, Alvarez and Marsal is primarily a restructuring firm. That's our heritage. And we work companies through bankruptcy and financial distress. And we're seeing the signs of a wave of that coming. As you know, an electric vehicle, engines are not present, transmissions, fuel systems, exhaust, many systems go away. And the impact on the supply base is huge. Mm-hmm. And I think we could be in store for a very disorderly wind down of ICE in the transition to BEV. Mm-hmm.
Disorderly, could you clarify what you mean by that exactly?
What I mean by that is as companies' volumes, let's say the exhaust systems, go down and down and down, eventually they become distressed and they go into bankruptcy. And then what happens is they go back to their customers, like an OEM, and say, I can't make your muffler system anymore for the last 2 years of production of this vehicle, leaving the OEM basically stranded. Mm-hmm. And then you could have people come in and say, well, I'll make the muffler system at very low volumes, but I'm going to charge you 3 times as much. So you're going to see a lot of, I think this will actually accelerate the end of the ICE transformation, because it'll get harder and harder to produce ICE vehicles in lower and lower volumes, especially when many major suppliers are going to be going into trouble.
Yeah. Let's just clarify for our listeners, ICE, internal combustion engine, just so we know what we're talking about there. There are also different strategies with regard to outsourcing and insourcing. Tesla is doing its own battery production, where others are, as we said, partnerships with independent suppliers, is there a trend one way or the other, or are we going to see a lot of different strategies depending on the manufacturer?
I think you're going to see a consolidation of strategy. All of the OEMs have massive powertrain divisions. Ford and GM each have over a dozen engine and transmission plants in North America. And I think, and also, one, from a labor standpoint, if they have to close those facilities, they're going to want to repurpose those workers. Mm-hmm. And that could be into battery production. I think there's another element of control of such an important piece of the supply chain or the vehicle. So I think you're going to see that the OEMs becoming battery producers, and you're seeing that investment now. Many are launching their own facilities.
Will the switch from lithium-based or lithium-ion-based batteries to solid state, if indeed that happens, will that solve issues of other raw material availability, such as all the rare earth materials and other things that are needed for EVs? Will they still be needed under those models or not?
Yes, they are, because they're used in the cathode, the anode, and some of the other components of the battery. Mm-hmm. Now, as you know, Tesla, which is often literally the canary in the coal mine, has bought mineral rights to mine their own lithium in Nevada. Mm-hmm. They created a partnership with a nickel mine in New Caledonia, which is an island off of New Zealand and Australia. And they've had some supply contracts with cobalt. Most of the cobalt comes through the Congo. So you're going to see the same demand for the raw materials, rare earth materials, even if it's lithium, basically solid state batteries.
In your opinion, do you think that the Biden administration's goal of 50% of all cars sold in America being EVs by 2030 is a realistic goal?
I think it's very realistic. I think, again, you're going to see what I mentioned earlier, the disorderly wind down of the internal combustion engine. You see greater adoption rates. I mean, and if you just look at television, you see more and more new EVs being announced by all the OEMs, European, Asian, and North American every day. Mm-hmm. So I absolutely do believe that, yes.
And do you also believe we will solve the charging station issue? Will there be, number one, enough of them, and the charging process will be sped up with new battery technology?
Yes, we have separate research on charging, and there's quite a bit of charging infrastructure being built. It's being built along interstates. It's being built in shopping malls and places where you would park for several hours when you leave your car. And also private employers, although the COVID situation, many people still don't go to an office, but the big office buildings of many big employers are putting in charging stations as well. So you're going to see charging stations just about anywhere you leave your car, whether it be at work or shopping or driving, for being accelerated.
So I guess you could characterize your view as optimistic, maybe some bumps along the road on the way, but it sounds like a pretty good future.
Yeah, I think in terms of penetration, very optimistic. I think it's going to be a very difficult transformation, though, for the OEMs and for the tier one suppliers. One thing I'll also think we'll look for is a lot of automotive suppliers have business units where they have a mix of old ICE technology and new BEV technology in the same division, same business unit. I think you're going to see corporate raiders come in and separate the growing assets, the EV assets, into one entity and take all the rest and put it into Garbage Co. and wind down Garbage Co. So it doesn't consume the profits that will be taken over. So you're going to see a lot of hedge funds, PE firms, corporate raiders getting into the supply base, causing further disruption. So again, the transformation is going to be a little bit of a rocky road for the supply base, very much so. But I think it's inevitable that the trend is still accelerating toward more EV penetration.
Tony Lynch of Alvarez and Marsal, thank you so much for being with me today to talk about the future of electric vehicles. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.